Hi, I'm Chris McCoy.
I'm Kailynn Johnson.
Welcome to the Memphis Flyer podcast. Every week we talk about what we're talking about in the Flyer. And this week it's GloRilla, ahead of the GloRilla and Friends GloBash
Yes.
on Friday night. And me and Kailynn and Alex Green took turns talking about how awesome GloRilla is.
Yes. It's always a fun time.
Yeah. And let me tell you, so our headline here, Desperately Seeking Glow, is how that came about. Was because we were talking about GloRilla and deciding that like she reminded us of Madonna and Madonna's early days because she's somebody that one can't do anything but write a hit, you know.
True.
Two, she has total control over her image and she's doing great stuff in the music video sphere,
Yes.
and like yeah, every music video is a banger, and not the songs are bangers, the videos are bangers, and that she's now like expanding and becoming, I don't want to call it a lifestyle brand, but it's something like that,
Yeah.
you know. But I just had a really good time writing this.
Yeah, that was fun for sure.
Yeah. So, what do you think about Glow?
I love her. So the first time I was gonna see her, I had my wisdom teeth pulled, so I did not get to see her at Beale Street. So I got to see her with Megan Thee Stallion and herself, of course, in Houston, and it was already fun because I love Meg, but like I think that's a perfect pairing because they're both these two powerful women in the rap space. Like they're kind of pushing boundaries. And like I said, you don't ever get to really see anybody from your like hometown or where you're from like ascend to that level like right when they're popular, if that makes sense. You always hear about them like in the history books, but it's kind of fun to see it like as it's happening.
That's a good point too, because that's one of the things I interviewed. I make mad beats and Jay Boyd, Jared Boyd from WYXR to talk about their perspectives on the phenomenon, and Jared especially was like yeah, this is like watching like Al Green in the early '70s, or like he was like, how long was Elvis really at the top of his game? 3 or 4 years, really, you know. But it's yeah, it's that's right. It's like seeing somebody succeed in real time,
Yeah.
and seeing somebody make such a huge dent in the zeitgeist, I guess, for
Yeah.
lack of a better term.
Cause like you don't really see people dominate like social media spaces as she did. Like I think TikTok played such a major role because you could hear her songs even outside of like the context of just listening to music. Like it would narrate somebody's like life story. You have different trends, so she kind of transcends just being like an artist and like she's that figure in pop culture too.
Yeah. So I'm not on TikTok. I'm on all the other social media because we have to, as journalists, we have to be on it. But I'm not on TikTok. But so much of hip hop and music also, sort of flows through that platform these days,
Yeah.
right? Are you obviously are on TikTok?
Yes, unfortunately, sometimes.
I had somebody explain it to me the other day. Well, actually, you know who it was? It was I Make Mad Beats. Was like TikTok is like a forum in the old message board forums in the early aughts, because it's like what it's really for is like spewing out your hot take and then other people responding to it.
That's why I say I'm on there sometimes.
Conflict gets engagement.
It does.
I know, but it's like at what cost to our sanity and our lives and our society that everybody's just trying to engage at all times. Which actually I reviewed the film Eddington this week, and Eddington is kind of about that because it's set during the pandemic, and one of the recurring themes in the film is that you see these characters get reinforced every time they say something that's like super extreme, and you get the feeling like maybe they don't really believe it or mean it, but then when other people they get attention for it and they get reinforced, then they're like, okay, well, I'm going to go even farther, and then eventually people start killing each other.
Oh.
you know but anyways, Eddington, recommend it. Two-thirds of a good movie, can't really land the ending. So if you're an Ari Aster fan, check it out because it is a addition to his filmography that you'd be interesting in. But it's a really interesting and complex work. But which brings us to my favorite GloRilla song, "Internet Trolls." It was a single, I think, 2023, and I was, and I said this in the piece too. That it's like, the more I thought it, like I heard that song and it's like, oh yeah, ignore those internet trolls. They just trying their internet goals. I can't remember the exact line. I'm sorry. See, that's why GloRilla is good and I am not at this. But the more I thought about it, I was like, that's a cool line, but it's also like actually really, a really deep insight.
Yeah, no, she's prophetic and like that. Like, yeah, Glo, like, I think that's like, I don't know how to describe it, but it transcends a song. It's so good. I just love listening to Yeah Glo. Like, it's like a narration almost.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's what good rap should be.
Yeah.
Too, And also, there's so much these days, and I hear, a lot of, you can't help but hear a lot of hip hop, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm no hip hop expert, not like Jared Boyd, and I make mad beats, so I interview with the Speeds. I'm not that much of an expert. I think my favorite hip hop album of all times is Fear of a Black Planet, Public Enemy. And I have a Fear of a Black Planet t-shirt. And whenever I wear it, I get more comments on that t-shirt than any other, piece of clothing that I own. I wear it and everybody be like, yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. And, but hip hop should have, like, a good rapper should have, like, a narrative, but it's not just telling a story. It's also got to be like, got to feel like that they're in your head.
Yeah. I
think to a certain extent, and that's what Glo's so good at.
Yes, yeah, it's timeless too. Like I can hear people like years from now, like still listening to that. Doesn't really have a start to an end to it.
Yeah, for sure. And she's good. It's good for Memphis. And as Jared pointed out in my story, she's almost single-handedly responsible for the interest in the way Memphians talk.
Yes. My reporter friend and I were talking about that because, like, she lives in Idaho and people are, like, so interested to, like, hear her talk. She's like, oh, you're from Memphis? And they're like, not like GloRilla Memphis. And so you kind of have to explain that, like, what the dialect is here. But I think it's funny that, like, that's the true centerpiece for how Memphians speak.
Yeah, for sure. And, Jared Boyd in the story was like, his cousins from Detroit will call him and be like, hey, will you say this? How do you say this? And he's like, what the don't. I'm not an animal in a zoo here. Which is also interesting, too, because this week was the 20th anniversary of Hustle and Flow.
Oh, wow.
And, Terrence Howard, who was nominated for Best Actor in that film, came to Memphis and hung out in Frasier for a while to get the dialect down. And so I think that was one of the first times that dialect had been like invaded pop culture like that. But Craig Brewer, is the director, once told me that at one point Paramount, because it was a Paramount production, Paramount was like, do we need to put subtitles on this?
It's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
Yeah.
No. Terrence is a professional, okay?
He got it.
He got it down. But and then, 3 6 Mafia won Best Song for Hard Out Here for a Pimp, an Oscar, which is the second time anybody from Memphis had won an Oscar for Best Song after Isaac Hayes. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like, Glo in some way, and there's 20 years of hip-hop history between them, too. But her songs and her production really reflect that era of Memphis hip hop. Everybody who talked about it in the story talked about like her how Memphis she sounded.
Yeah, she's one of a kind. You can distinctly hear a GloRilla song and you can tell, like, even if you're listening to like something on shuffle or just the radio, you know what a GloRilla song is. Like, it stands out.
Yeah, it's got that like spare. There's air in it, so there's like, it's not every millisecond is not crammed with noise,
yes.
Which people do, and it's fine. I was in a noise band for a long time, so I used to do that, but they don't do that. and synthesizer riffs. Really, there are samples, but it's not like super sample heavy. And that comes from like the 3 6 Mafia days when they did not have, because there was sampling in the 90s, and then there was in the early 90s, and then there was the Biz Markie lawsuit, which was like you have to pay for samples. That was when you used to have to. And so so people didn't have, Memphis rappers didn't have the money to pay for those samples, so they were like, they just like, well, let's make some synth riffs. Instead, and that's kind of how that evolved. And she is totally in that tradition. Even though she's not doing it in her bedroom anymore with a 4-track, she's got like real studios in Atlanta and in LA, but it still has that DIY sound to it to a certain extent, So we're going to the show. We're hoping that you can go to the show on Friday, which is tomorrow. We're recording this on Thursday. We usually record on Wednesdays, but here in the studio, you can't see it, but we're currently surrounded by a jazz band, an entire jazz band's worth of equipment right now. So we had to record on Thursday instead of Wednesday this week. But I think half the city is going to be downtown tomorrow.
It's all I've been seeing on my timeline. GloBash. So it's going to be something for the books for sure.
It's going to be big. You can pick it up. Physical copy, of course. We love those physical copies.
Yes, that's a collector's edition, I feel.
I did. What a great cover. Carrie, who is our designer, really knocked this one out of the park. So yes, get your collector's edition of the Memphis Flyer. You can read the story online, and I guess, Kailynn, you got anything else to say? I'm good.
I'm good too.
All right. We'll see you next week on the Memphis Flyer podcast.